Hello again, I'm Will Royer, and this is 8 at 4, presented by VCU Massey Cancer Center. 8 segments about the people, places, and things you need to know about in the Richmond area. We're talking RVA Fashion Week, some great outdoor events, and much more. Let's go. If you have a passion for fashion, then Jimmy Budd has just the thing for you. RVA Fashion Week is back and better than ever.
My name is Jimmy Budd. I am the co-founder and executive producer of RVA Fashion Week and part owner of Vagabond Special Events Venue and Restaurant. So RVA Fashion Week has been around since 2008. We wanted to celebrate the local culture here and arts, music, charity, and fashion. And here we are now entering our 14th year, right around the corner. When we first started Fashion Week, there were so many amazing individuals that ended up leaving here just because they felt like they couldn't grow their business or their brand. And my goal has always been to just encourage people that they can do it here. Now, having fast forward to year 14, we've seen so many success stories over the years that show and prove to our Richmond community that you can grow your business here and not have to move elsewhere. We are diversifying our whole week of events from the shopping experience to the fashion shows to wellness to workshops. We're always bringing on more team members and volunteers. The most rewarding part of this journey has been the relationships. I've built so many amazing relationships in this city, and in this scene, so many people become so successful. We have such a high-spirited and positive, driven community that we've curated and grown over the years. So the relationships are everything to me.
So as a foodie, I appreciate the many culinary gifts that France has given us. We have French fries, we have French toast, but up next our friend Koushi France is going to show us the art of charcuterie.
Hi, my name is Koushi France. I am the owner of Crenius LLC, which is a lifestyle brand that promotes wellness and self-care through social experiences and especially through charcuterie. So traditionally, charcuterie is an assortment of cured meats. But today, charcuterie has been remixed to include all kinds of accoutrements, which are the little additives, and it also encompasses anything that tastes good to you. So I'm originally from Ghana, West Africa, and charcuterie is not necessarily part of our culture, but community is. And we believe that community and showing love, we do this through food. I wanted to make sure that I was able to share my culture and share my love for culinary. Every single ingredient, I want to make sure that you have something salty, you have something sweet, you have something savory. And I also want to make sure that it's not just your taste, the smell. It is visually appealing. And I also want to make sure that you can hear like that crunch that you get from the nuts or from the crisp. I'll go to the farmer's market too and see what's in season, and based on that, get all of the ingredients together and taste test blindfolded to make sure that everything in your box pairs together well. I have a master's degree in business administration, and the plan never involved cheese. Making charcuterie has been a de-stressor for me, and I saw it could potentially be a business. I could turn my hobby into a business. This is where we landed. I love sharing not only my art, but my self-care with people.
So after a health scare, Chef Danny Sterling wants to help you eat like your ancestors. I'm intrigued.
My name is Danny Sterling. We're here at ELYA HQ. If you come on in, I'm going to show you inside. So I started ELYA in 2020, right at the end of the pandemic. In 2016, I was diagnosed with cancer and I was in the hospital, and unfortunately the food wasn't awesome. So I had been a chef at that point for 10 years. I had been in fine dining and I was doing a little bit of consulting at the time. So I thought if we can take that attention to detail from fine dining and put it into mass food service, like maybe we could create something really meaningful. The name ELYA comes from Eat Like Your Ancestors because we firmly believe in like ancestral nutrition, but also the idea of like sitting down and having a meal and creating genuine connection over food. We pivoted to our vending machines where we were putting prepared meals out of those. And now more recently, we pivoted again to selling our prepared meals online. So the meals that we do kind of fit anybody wherever they are on their wellness journey. We started by potentially just doing paleo meals, but then I realized that maybe paleo didn't align with most people's values. So we also do vegan meals, Whole30 meals, keto meals, and then we do stuff that just, again, aligns with our values, either locally sourced or organic. It doesn't really fit into a dietary preference. A big piece of our mission, and something I don't really get to talk about a lot, is sustainability. So we don't actually even use plastic in our operation. If we purchase something and it comes in plastic, there's really not much we can do about that. But as far as like heating up a big batch of bone broth and then pouring it into a plastic container, we're not super keen on that. So we use stainless steel or glass. Same thing whenever we're just storing food before we're about to, serve it to a guest. We don't use plastic wrap. We really try to make sure that plastic doesn't touch food for as long as possible. If you just go to www.orderelya.com, you'll see our menu. It rotates every week now. We got a ton of new menu items coming online. We're actually doing a little bit of R&D today. So a lot of exciting stuff coming down the pipeline.
Up next is 8 at 4 Sports, brought to you by the Richmond Flying Squirrels. As a self-proclaimed VCU fanboy, I'm going to tell you about a man they call Bones. So the Denver Nuggets have made the NBA playoffs, and one of their fan favorites is none other than Hyland. He prefers to go by the name Bones. Bones Hyland was a standout player at VCU and broke records on his way to winning the Conference Player of the Year award after just his second season. But Hyland's journey to success was not always smooth. After his junior year in high school, Bones was the victim of a house fire that tragically claimed the lives of his grandmother and younger brother. Bones was forced to jump out of a window to escape and tore a tendon in his knee. He was told by doctors that he may never play basketball again. But we know that wasn't the case. He worked extremely hard to rehab and get himself back on the court. And the rest was history. Bones Hyland plays with a passion that outshines his pain. He's a true inspiration, and we've seen his resilience and will to win on and off the court. If there's anyone that I'm rooting for to win it all this year, it's Bones. The spring is here, and that means it's time to get outside. Chris Frelke wants to give you a couple outdoor options in the downtown Richmond area.
My name is Chris Frelke. I am the Director of Parks and Recreation and Community Facilities. Today we are standing out at Kanawa Plaza. This was something that was envisioned in the early 70s of how do we connect one side of the city to another side when a major interstate cut through it, 195. And it's used very actively from different groups. Unlocking RVA takes advantage of this and does brunch on the plaza. It's a great venue to really have, and especially when you're in this urban core, to have this wonderful green space when you have tall skyscrapers around you. So imagine these spaces were divided by the interstate. It's underneath us right now, the interstate. And so you would never know that standing up here or have any idea that that's what's happening. 17th Street Market is the oldest farmers market in the country. It's been open for 275 years. And you see a lot of different great events that we have out there. Yoga on Wednesdays. The night market is getting ready to do on the second Saturdays of every month that they'll have their events. Unlocking RVA, we partner with to do the silent headphones, and we also do roller skating out there on the plaza. It's a great venue for people to just to come out and take advantage of the fantastic restaurants that are in the 17th Street Market, or just to really enjoy the different atmosphere that is in that space and part of history. That is a huge history dating back, like I said, for 275 years of all sorts of things that happened in the Richmond area. These spaces are for the people. That's why we love the different partnerships that we've been able to develop. It's wonderful when you see this whole place filled with people sitting on this lawn. We can celebrate the richness of our community and our spaces.
Up next, we have more outdoor entertainment. Manchester Manifest brings the community together on Richmond's South Side. This event is curated by Richmond Fields. Check it out.
My name is Richmond Fields. I go by Rosetta. I represent Crenius LLC, the creative agency, which is the umbrella agency over Manchester Manifest. A lot of what we do with Crenius is identifying gaps within the creative culture and within the community. We identified the gap within First Fridays. So with First Fridays, it was hard for a lot of people, especially as a vendor or artist, to access, what was going on downtown in the Arts District. So just giving people the open door opportunity. So you didn't really have to know somebody to get in, you just had to want to get in. So local vendors, food trucks, artists, musicians, bands, DJs, we just really gave them an open door to come and be able to be a part of First Fridays in general. The Manchester and Blackwell area is growing. It's great soil right now for anything that anyone wants to do. Manchester's real malleable right now where people can, grow it and kind of sustain it how they want to. So we've had all different types of people, all genders, abilities, nationalities, backgrounds, and I think it really gives that glimpse of the true spectrum of Richmond, what Richmond really is about. I've been really loving seeing how all different types of people come together and how they interact.
So we've seen some events this spring will bring us, but our meteorologist, Son Sublet, wants to tell us about our favorite spring fling, pollen.
There's this idea, is the pollen getting worse? Is the pollen getting worse as we get into the springtime here in Central Virginia? And we go back with some help from our friends at Climate Central and the Science Museum of Virginia, and certainly that is what we found. It's going back to the late 80s, we've seen the amount of pollen on the increase. The time that it expands or the time that it peaks is a little bit earlier in the year. So the pollen's getting stronger, it's showing up earlier. We talked to Allergy Partners of Richmond. Becky Colley is the person who's been taking the pollen readings almost daily since the late 1980s, tracking the pollen so strongly over these past several decades. We also talked to Dr. Jeremy Hoffman at the Science Museum of Virginia for a little more perspective. They were able to give us the data. We want to go back and verify, well, this is the way it seems. Does the data pan out? Does it match what our expectations are? And that is exactly what we found out. Looking at a warming planet, looking at the idea that with winters not as strong, the graphic behind you shows the number of growing degree days, but it shows the total number of hours above the 50-degree mark during the course of the year. So what this ultimately tells us is that the winters are not as cold anymore. So the trees don't go into dormancy as long as they did just 30 or 40 years ago. So the pollen shows up earlier. The allergens themselves are getting stronger. So we're seeing more frequent visits to urgent care, more frequent visits to emergency rooms, not just for allergy attacks, but allergy-induced asthma, because that's another folding in or cascading aspect to the increased amount of pollen in the atmosphere. It is more of an irritant, so it can trigger other diseases.
So after I picked up my allergy meds the other day, I met a dynamic young man with hopes to heal our school systems. Here's Darius Jefferson.
So I'm Darius Jefferson. I'm here to represent LEAD, Law Enforcement Against Drugs. The overall program is a K12 Mentorship program. It focuses on bullying, depression, anxiety, different issues that lead to suicide attempts, drug usage in the schools, as well as different forms of violence and gang violence. Basically trying to get a handle on these different issues, make it safer for our teachers and students. Because at the end of the day, the safer the environment is, the easier it is for the kids to focus on learning. Kids, they're learning constantly. Everything that they do is learn behavior. And if they're learning the behavior from either the wrong individuals or in the wrong way or from other kids that are doing it the wrong way, then they're going to pick up on the wrong side of things. So it's always about providing somebody in their life that can teach them the right way to do it or show them the right way that it can be done, actually show them results from it so that they can actually believe it's possible for them as well. So today we're at CVS on Main Street in Shockoe Bottom. We're also at Farm Fresh right across the street. So you'll see us out here a lot. We're at a lot of different places. And when you see us, we're friendly. We like to talk to people. We like to have fun. We play music, we dance, we give things out just for thank you gifts, for helping out and stuff like that in the community. because it means a lot. It goes a long way. We want people to know that we want to talk. We want to have conversations. We want to hear your stories. We want to get to know you, because the more people that we can get to know, the more people we can educate. And the more people we can educate, the more change we can create in the community, whether it be by the way of information or by the way of donation, whatever the case may be. It's really about providing an opportunity for that person not just to know what's going on, but to be a part of the solution if they want to.
All right, that wraps up this episode of 8 at 4, presented by VCU Massey Cancer Center. I appreciate you all joining me, and I'll see you next time.